Welcome to selfdiscoverymedia.com, where we discover the communities that are making a difference in the lives of others. Our self-discovery is something we are all making on our life's journey. Here you will find the people that will be your guidance, that will be your inspiration, that will be there for you in support on your journey of life. Do enjoy. Our next show is... Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of Ignite Your Heart and Soul right here on selfdiscoverymedia.com. I'm your host, Sarah Troy, and my guest who was with me some years ago, back now with her beautiful book that we're going to be talking about today, Jessie Ann Nichols. George is her official name, but she goes by the name of On. And we're going to be discovering why that today. Basically, Anne is using Jessie's body, using Jessie's spirit to give us the message that we're really needing in this world. And she's a beautiful astral traveler. She's a prolific writer. I don't know how many books she's written, but stacks. She's incredibly detailed. So she's really is one to unravel things and go deep, deep, deep into understanding what it all means. And she's, you know, as it's an astral traveler and knows all those other dimensions. And she opens up that world to us, that divine flow. She says we're living in a 3D world. You know, as a result, we often go through challenges in life, which push us to our limits and test us to our commitment of living in our soul self, even when so my mouse is playing up here today. Even when we fully trust our intuition, we don't always honor what we need to be doing. And it could be heard to tell that we push forward. Yes, you know, good old push forward when we need to take a break. I recently got that message. It can be heard to be understood that we are going through this experiences that we do in life. It is through honoring the self, understanding the experiences that we have in life, that we are able to move through this world in the wisdom of soul self. The code journey emerged out of a journey of great hardship and heartbreak. It was created to help all that want it, to have hope in the darkness, understanding in the challenges, and to honor and welcome the blessings. It is a guide to help people, no matter where they are in life, to hold compassion for themselves and others while moving through whatever life has to give them. Anne is a Maggie walk-in from the multi-universe. She stepped into this existence to relieve another soul known as Jessie. She continues to use this human name for the body, Jessie Ann Nichols George, but goes by the name Anne. And Jessie and Anne are a part of the same Maggie team, which work to assist people in living in compassionate, wise, and harmoniously. Boy, do we need some harmony right now. I think everybody's looking forward to the back of 2020, and everybody is looking at, well, is 2021 a year to be hopeful for? And I believe it is, because I believe that everything we've gone through right now was a reset, a redirect, a review, and that what we seed and water tomorrow, what will grow. And this is the time that the seeding and has happened, isn't it? And watering we need to do. Welcome back onto the show.
Well, thank you so much, Sarah. It's great to be here with you, and it's been quite a journey to
Mm-hmm.
get to this point. And I think that one of the things we need to keep in mind, because I think so many people just want to say, can't we just put this all behind us, be done with it, forget about it, and have it over with? And they don't want to finish looking at what's happening.
Yeah.
And so we're in this very, very critical point. And as much as I would love to just give all the rosy colored picture to everybody, it's more important that we look at what's really going on and not run away from it.
Mm-hmm.
Because our culture around Earth and different starseed groupings that are here now, particularly the Atlantean and the Lemurian groupings that are present, we didn't complete things in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're back. We have a chance to complete them now. So just because it doesn't feel real great to our human self, I think it's important that we realize our soul in many ways is jumping up and down and thrilled and excited with things, even if our human self is going, are you crazy? Are you crazy to be happy about this? Are you crazy to think that this is okay and good and all of these things? And So when I look at this, we're really in this kind of 5-year period, just to kind of fill people in right now. And 2020 was the first of that 5-year period. And I
Mm-hmm.
do believe that 2020 probably in some ways has some of the harshest energy to it.
Mm,
Um, but there's always these blessings, always within what's harsh is also some really amazing things. And there is no doubt that we are living in some of the most incredible times that will exist on the face of this earth. And
mm-hmm.
some people may not see that, they may not realize that, they may not feel like that's the case, but it certainly is. And 2021 is not going to be the easiest year for people, but if we work with it,
Mm,
if we embrace it for what it has to offer us, we will be able to come through the other side of 2021 moving more into blessings, moving more into positive spaces. So, really, these first 2 years of this 5-year cycle are the hardest. And they're the hardest because we're in critical choices right now.
mm-hmm.
And the choices that we make literally make or break humanity. They literally make or break us moving on as a collective race.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pause there for a second.
No,
And
you ding dong bells. Yes. I mean, if ever there was an invitation for change, I was given a saying by the universe about 3 years ago: the universe is going to shake us up, to wake us up, for us to step up and change it up and grow up. Double entendre there. And boy, has it shaken us up. And we've had to wake up, and we're being invited to stand up, change it up, and grow up. And this is really what this time period is about, isn't it? Is that you've had your
yeah,
way, earthlings. You have not honored the planet, the spirit, yourselves, your own soul. And this is that reset into where you have to change things because we're forcing you into that change.
change is inevitable right now. And
Yes.
that is a huge, huge theme. When we look at the 2021 energy, when we look at the 2021 book, um, I titled 2021 The Year of Transforming Our Journey,
Mm-hmm.
because this is the really big pivotal year. And I kind of equate this time of what we're in, it's like doing a remodel on a house. Okay, when you first get that house that you're going to remodel, the first thing you got to do is tear some things down.
Yeah.
And you got to break some walls down and you got to knock some things out and you got to get rid of the stuff that doesn't work. You got to get rid of the old electrical and you got to get rid of the old plumbing that's got holes in it, because those things are all going to cause you issues if you try to keep using that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to get rid of that first and you have to rip it all down to the bare bones pretty much. And then you start making the changes. Then you start making the changes to structurally that you want, foundationally that you want. Um, you're actually shifting the layout and the format
Mm-hmm.
of it all at this point. And then once you start to do that, you can start to rebuild. And you can rebuild in a way that's strong, in a way that's balanced. And then you can get to where you can start to really enjoy that home
Yeah.
again. So even though what we're experiencing is hard to go through, we will get to more enjoyable days. And I think that's one of the things about the codes that has really been helpful for me over the last year in particular and going forward, is that even though I see all this garbage going on in the
Mm-hmm.
news and all this conflict going on, I know by the path the codes are taking that we will find the balance. I know that we can come out of this. And yes, we have to make some wise decisions along the way, but we are not helpless in this situation. We are not alone in this situation. And one of the great blessings that we have coming in with 2021 is we have a beautiful amount of divine energy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does that mean everything's going to be rosy? Well, no, not necessarily, because you're still going to have that energy that's going to try to knock us out of divine space. So we're going to have to stand really strong. It's going to require us to stand in faith
Yeah.
over the next year.
Hmm.
And this is part of what I love about the book, because the book is, I call it a daily guide for life on Earth,
Hmm.
because that's really what it is. It's got information about the year, and it's got information about the months and the lunar cycles and other portals with meteor showers and things like that, and angel influences. And then it's got the daily influences. And it all has these action steps. And I think so many times we are naturally in tune with what we need to be doing, but we block that instinct.
Yeah.
We don't listen to it. We go, oh, I've got these 20 things on my to do list to do. So I just can't take that day off. I can't go honor myself today, these sorts of things. And the codes kind of keep us on track, because when we try to work against the codes, we oftentimes won't. Um, we won't get the results or the successes that we want. When we surrender into the flow, that divine flow, and the codes help us know what that divine flow is from day to day, um, then we realize, okay, this is a day I need to take it easy. This is a day I need to not take things personally, because communications are off today. So I know if somebody says something wrong, I shouldn't be holding that against them
Right.
on
Exactly.
that particular day.
Yes.
Um, if if I open the door, so other times I can look at it and say, okay, this is my day to push. I might have been trying to decide, should I go do this today or should I focus on this today? I turn around, I look at the book, and it's like, yep, this is a great day to knock out the really big projects. And I'll sit
Right.
down and do it. And it seems like everything goes smooth. So,
It's permission, isn't it? Permission to pause, permission to review, permission to be engaged, with your own
yes,
spirit. Is this the right time? The earthly demands, the human demands are that we should be on 24/7 and just suck it up and do it. If you want to get anywhere in life, you've got to be on 24/7. We know that that is unrealistic and completely wrong. We need the downtime, we need the pause time, we need the reflection time, we need the review time, we need the time to investigate. In order to make the right decisions to move forward. So your book, in a sense, is giving that permission to pause, or this is the time to really put the foot to the pedal, get ready, and it's just that kind of compass that we need to guide us through the year, because as you said, it's still going to be a rocky year. It's not 2021 vaccines and hallelujah, life is going to go back to normal. We don't want it to go back to that normal. It's a new
right.
norm we're trying to carve out now, more of a spiritual, um, intuitive and connective norm that we're wanting people to step into. So if you have something that can guide you and you're not having to second guess all the time, or helps you with your own attunement, your own instincts, then it becomes like a friend, a buddy that you've got with you that's always there helping you along the way.
Absolutely. And one of the things I find for a lot of people with this book is that they're really doing a lot where they're building a relationship with their own self. So
Mm,
they're building this really beautiful relationship between the soul self and the human self. And it gets the human self to really open up and come into trust with
mm,
the soul's energy. And likewise, the soul kind of comes in and it's listening more to what the human is offering, even if
yes.
the soul knows, okay, this is where we need to be going, but it's listening to the human self and where it's at and where the demands are at. Because even though we are these soulful, beautiful beings of energy, um, we are in a 3D world.
Hmm.
And even if we elevate, everybody on the earth elevates their mindset to 5D, 6D, 10D, I don't care what the D is
Yeah.
on there, you're in a three-dimensional earth. And we have to deal with what is happening in that three-dimensional world. The difference is this starts to allow you to move through it from the soul's energy in many ways. And we
The
find
balance.
with this book, what's really exciting about it is people say, well, how should I use the book?
Mm,
Well, you know, there's no real right way, because what's really cool is that around the world, all these people are working with this book, and they are experiencing the same things that are talked about in the book, but at the same time, it's also hitting their personal life,
Mm-hmm.
and they're getting their own personal experiences. And the questions that I ask in the book on a day-to-day basis, the little action steps that I provide, or thought-provoking pieces that are in there for people to ponder from day to day, it really is unwinding our mind from the earthly programming, is what it's doing.
Yeah.
And it's really getting us to think. It's really getting us to tap into our divine self, which is the creative energy, and to consider different possibilities. What is the
Mm-hmm.
possibility of this? What if
Yeah.
you did this?
Yeah.
And
What if the negative? What if the positive? Right?
mhm,
Mm-hmm.
right. So looking at these options so that our human mind can actually map the connections naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I find is people over and over again, once they've worked with the book for a year, they say, I'm never doing without this book again, ever.
Right. Yeah. As I said, it's that companion. We all need help along the way, especially when we're in tumultuous times. And
Yes,
2020 was an extraordinary year of so much happening on such a global scale that affects absolutely everybody. And some
right.
people have seeked the opportunity and the redirection into possibilities that are absolutely wonderful, and other people have become paralyzed by it, or angry by it, or denying by it. And it is a taking stock of who are you, why are you at this point. And we talk about the soul, and the soul is anxious to talk to us all the time. It is always with us. But if our heart is shut down, how can the soul speak to us? Because it speaks through the heart. In order for it to get to the brain, it's got to go through the heart and ignite the spirit for the mind to know what it needs to know when it needs to know it. And if, so many people have shut the heart down because I don't want to be hurt. Well, you are hurt. Deal with the hurt. Deal with it. It's part of your process and your growth. Feel the pain, because you have to feel that in order to know what the joy is.
One of the questions I like to ask when people say, I don't want to feel the hurt, I'm shutting down because of the hurt, or I don't want to feel the pain of something. And I come back to saying, why don't you want to feel the magnificence of love
Hmm.
that is on the other side of this?
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is, and it's fear. And I think so many times, especially in these times when you're in major change, people have a lot of fear that comes up. They and when fear comes up, our heart space shuts down, which is with the book. In working with it, it gives the human self something tangible to hold on to.
Yeah.
It gives the human self an ability to redirect in many ways. It gives a concrete piece of truth, which allows it to stand in that compassion. And the human self really needs this in so many ways. It needs some sort of tangible piece to grab onto to open up. And that's where that relationship becomes so valuable and so important, because then it allows the human self to open up. And through working with these pieces day after day, eventually the human self goes, okay, I'm on board.
Hmm.
I'm on board now. You've built my trust up. I'm on board. And I think that's really the piece there, is that aspect of this just beautiful coming together and stopping and re-saying, questioning ourselves. Why am
Yeah.
I blocking this? Why am I afraid of this? And we don't need to be afraid of those answers, because that's where the deep, meaty
Mm.
stuff is, that we come back and we go, man, I just had the biggest breakthrough. I just had,
Yeah.
an
Yeah.
incredible experience. That's where the experiences are. If you think back to the best experiences of your life, yes, some of them are happy, but the biggest, most resonating experiences are the hard times, the
Yes.
challenges, and not because they were brutal on you, but because you got through them.
You grew.
You
You grew
grew.
from them. Yeah.
And it's those hard experiences that open the heart up a lot of
Yeah.
times. And that's kind of where we are now. as a culture, as a society, as a world, is that our hearts shut down a lot. And this guide really, I believe, helps people to live more compassionately because it does open our perspective of.
Right. We've been living literally in a hurricane this 2020 around the world. The fear, the hysteria, the conspiracies, the anger, the righteousness, and it's all kind of the human rebellion. And it's I always think of the Borg, resistance is futile. It's it, change has to happen. You are invited to stand up one way or the other. You can resist, you can fight, you can complain, you can blame someone else, but ultimately that change has to happen, and it has to happen to you, through you. And when people are willing to discover that, they discover how strong they are, how courageous they are, how many abilities they have, what is really for them on the other side. That is what they've always wanted, but they didn't know. And so if you are willing to go through the process, and then what you're seeding, what you're watering, what you're nurturing, and you're allowing it to grow into be what it needs to be. And you're not dictating it from the 3D human level, from the anger, from the fear. And I'm hoping that 2021 will lessen the hurricane, the emotional hurricane, and have people kind of just take a breath and start collecting themselves a little bit more. Is there any hope of that?
Well, I think certainly there is hope of this. And again, I think because we have that divine energy presence that's coming in, I've loved to watch the people who have changed along the way, who've
Mm,
really taken hold, worked with the steps, and it's been amazing to watch how their lives are changing because they're saying, I'm not tolerating this anymore. I'm not doing
right.
that. Well,
Hmm.
why is that? Because they are participating in the changes.
Yeah.
And that is the incredible space. When you participate in the changes that are going to happen, that is where you have influence. You don't
Mm,
have influence if you're not participating.
right.
And that doesn't mean you have to go out and be a part of a protest or things like that. You participate
The
by the
solution.
way you choose to be
Yeah.
in life.
Yeah.
So when you choose to align with truth, when you choose to align with integrity, when you choose to align with compassion, when you
Yes.
choose to align with kindness, you are choosing to create changes that are going to support that. The more you align that, yes, in those processes of growth, and it happens with all types of growth, certain things are going to fall away, certain people are going to fall away in our life, certain situations are going to
Mm,
fall away, but only because they're not really serving us anymore.
right.
And
Yeah.
I think that's a lot of what we're going to see in 2021. Yes, our heads are probably going to be full, just like they were in 2020. But the changes we're seeing is because we are growing,
Yeah.
because we are progressing as a human race in many ways, because change is needed. And so when we participate and take hold and say, I am going to create change in this direction, okay? Um, we have these choices always, and I think we forget how powerful choices in our life.
Yeah.
And
Even abstaining from a choice is a choice, isn't it? We are making
it
choices all the time.
constantly,
Yes.
constantly, and it's through choice that even when life is rough, you have a choice to be happy.
Yeah.
You're not dictated by your circumstances, and I think that that's very, very important. So as we move through these changes, we can participate. If you have no contact with anybody in the world, you can still be an influence by the energy that you're resonating through, by the energy that you're choosing to carry within you.
Yeah.
So if you're choosing to carry kindness, compassion, these sorts of things, wisdom, then in your own life, just from your own self, you are going to exert that into our world, which means you're going to keep that energy alive. You're going to keep that memory alive for other people to be able to tap into around the world. and to go, oh, yes, I remember this kindness. Yes, I remember what
Mm.
it's like to feel. I remember what it's like to hug or to care about somebody, things like this. And so you're keeping it alive, even if you have absolutely no contact with
Right.
somebody, you are having an influence.
Yes, the energy. We're at a time period, like, we've been just told here in BC that no Christmas, unless it's your immediate family that lives in the house, no Christmas. We're on lockdown until the 8th of January. And although disappointing, that can't be with family, all we have to look upon it is a delay. We will have Christmas in January. And this is the time to get innovative, isn't it? We can't change what is right now. Well, we can if we kind of follow along and just, everybody play their part. But, circumstances are circumstances, and we have to look at them instead of being resentful and angry. It's okay. It's only a date, right? We can celebrate family time in January and look forward to that. And I think we will be so grateful to be together at that time that I think it will change the whole perspective of, the meaning of coming together. So I think one of the things we not got to get hung up on is when we're told we can't do something, or this can't happen right now, or you're going to have to put that on hold. And it's like, don't get your knickers in a twist. It's just a pause and a redirect, and be grateful that there's still an opportunity down the road to do it, and just go with the flow at the present moment. Just tap into what the universe is asking us to do right now. And if we work with the universe, with the divine, and we become at one with them, we will ride that wave and lead us to quote the promised land down the road of our making, because we're being guided to be those tools and those instruments.
I think you bring up a really great point, Sarah. And I think that it is so important with all of this change that one of the key pieces is openness
Yeah.
and remaining open to the possibilities of where we are at in a given moment. And also this openness, because with so much change happening, and there's going to be a lot
Yeah.
in 2021. I mean, really, we're going to see a lot of world leaders turnover. We're going to see a lot of shifts in people and situations and things. And beyond even just being in the present moment, I think it is this openness. It's coming back into focus. It's going to make us rethink things.
Mm-hmm.
Is it really about these material things?
Mm-hmm.
Can we be present with each other even when we're not physically
Right.
present with each other? And that's a really powerful piece, that presence. You and I can sit here face to face in a sense, and offering up that presence. It's
Yes.
powerful. Coming back to thinking, don't let a moment pass. These core values, don't let a moment pass and walk away from somebody and not let them know you care. When
Right.
you do,
Yeah.
don't waste these moments. Many people have said, it kind of reminds me of the Dr. Seuss The Grinch Stole Christmas this year. And they're like, I have faith we're all going to come out and sing. No matter what we have, we're going to come out on Christmas Day and we're going to sing. And I kind of love the parallel of that, because it's one that had crossed my mind as well a couple of times. And and as I told that person, I said, well, we have to get back to some of these aspects of, it's not about all the store-bought stuff.
Right.
We've let that evolved over the years, but when you get back to some of the old stuff, it was like you pulled some of the branches and they dried in your
Mhm.
home so that you would have them for fire to get through the winter to stay warm enough. Your decorations were things that fed the animals
Yeah.
oftentimes. So you
Hmm.
didn't put them away every year.
Right.
You created them together. And it was really, this coming together time. It was about doing something together, or it was about um, sitting in this reverence. And one of the things I really encourage people with the type of times that we're in to help initiate or to work with the changes, so to say, that we're undergoing, that are necessary, that we've got to move through, is to set aside specific people
Hmm.
and to hold your focus on what you want. So if what you want is world peace or freedom or love in the world, focus on that as opposed to we've got to have this leader or that
Hmm.
leader or you know it's got to come through this. We want to let go of the constraints
Yeah.
and the shells of it all
Become
and
the vehicle for
focus
it.
and become the vehicle and
Mm.
just kind of say nope, I'm going to put my prayer into peace. I'm going to put my prayer into this. And this is because we don't want to focus on what's wrong. We want to
No.
focus on where we want to go. We want
Right.
to focus on what we want to create. And this is going to open our heart up because the creator energy, that is our God energy. That is God within us.
Hmm.
That is the divine presence within us. And it very much needs to create.
Hmm.
So, you know, it doesn't have to be a tangible physical thing that we're creating. It can be a vibration, it can be
Yes.
a thought. And so I encourage people to let go of the attachments, the shells for something to come in, and focus on the real core piece that's there.
If you want world peace, be the peace that you seek.
Yeah.
Right. The thing is, we're so busy looking outside to provide us
Mhm.
all of this. It's always inside of you. You are part of the equation. The more you seek peace within you, loving, harmonious, divine peace within you, and you exude that peace resonance out to others, that harmony, that symphony is going to touch everyone that you're around. So if you want to see these changes, then you need to be the change that you seek. Stop looking for someone else to do it and make it better for you. It's up to you. It's your journey. You need to participate in it, and you need to dive right into those wonderful dimensions and open up your beautiful soul and let it speak to your heart and your spirit and your mind and become that peace, that joy, that purpose that you're here to be.
Absolutely. And the Code Journey book talks a lot about this. It talks about align yourself with this. Don't put up with the abuses. Don't put up
Yep.
with the corruption pieces. Don't put up with the hate. Don't put up with continuing to support people who are out of integrity.
Yeah.
If they're out of integrity, go support somebody else. And it's like a lot of people, recently that I've come in contact with and some people I've had conversations with, and I was talking about some things that I've purchased, and I've gotten to a point where it's like I'm really, really cautious about where I'm purchasing, and it won't go into a lot of the major retailers. I would love to be able to actually put the book out of Amazon to
Yeah.
another area, but I haven't found the right venue yet. So
Right. And
when I
the
do,
thing is, the message is about getting this book into the hands that help the people rise up. And so if you
yes,
have to use that
yes.
mainstream, instead of looking at it as an enemy, look at it as an asset.
But I encourage people, I say, go to these individual business
Hmm.
owners, go to your local farmers, go to,
Yes.
not everybody has local farmers around. I do in my area, but, and look at what you're supporting.
Yeah.
Look at what you're participating in, because when you put that dollar down, that's what you're contributing to.
Yeah.
And so I oftentimes will find the individual people who are really not attached to
Mhm.
any big thing. They're doing their own thing. They're using their own products. They're working with ethics. They're, coming from a good heart, and that's who I choose to do business with, for
Right.
example. But these journeys that we're on, and we're all on these amazing different layers of journeys, and you can have something that one term can mean something different to every person who comes across that term. And that's another really cool thing with the book, is because the book is going to grow with you. It doesn't
Mhm.
matter where you are on the journey when you first pick it up, and it doesn't matter how evolved you get, how aware, conscious, or whatever else you want to say you get in your life. it's still going to provoke thoughts in you. And
Right.
it's still
Yeah.
going to open doors within you. And and I love that because it's very rare. Sometimes you pick something up and it's a tool for one small point in your life. It doesn't necessarily grow with you.
Right.
And this does because you're always unfolding the deeper layers. You're always unfolding,
Mm,
you're getting a new understanding of what integrity is about. You're getting a new understanding of how your rebel energy might come out. You're getting a new understanding of what it's like to be a team player,
mm,
things like this. So those layers are constantly unfolding, which is very, very exciting. And what this does is just as we step into flow, it doesn't mean that your life becomes perfect and you never have an issue.
right.
What it means is that you're able to handle anything that comes up. And that is incredibly powerful because when you come to that understanding that I will be able to handle whatever comes up, no matter what it is, you will be approaching life in a whole different way.
Yeah.
You will not be tolerating people mistreating you.
Mm,
You will not be having hatred for people who
mm-hmm.
think differently for you. You will not be walking around angry all the time. You might not be happy about everything that happens all the time, but you will have a piece that starts to surface that says, you know what? Yeah, this situation kind of sucks, but you know what? I'm going to get through it because I understand what's happening. I have a bigger understanding of the pieces are at play.
Yeah.
And the more people implement these pieces, the more they work with the book, what I find is that they learn how certain terms come out in their life. So they understand when it's talking about rebel energy,
Mm-hmm.
how that's likely to come out in their life. Or when it talks about this being a time to make their own decisions, they start to learn through their experiences what happens when they don't make their own
Right.
decisions and the difference of when it does. So when you come into this divine flow by working with this energy, by working with the currents that are present from day to day, you place yourself in a position where the hardships really aren't as hard as they could be
Mm-hmm.
in many ways. You're placing yourself in a position of strength and resilience and confidence, and you're building all of this up in this incredible, beautiful way that just allows your soul to step into whatever the situation is.
Right. Just to look upon it as a challenge. You know, one of the things I love with books is you may have read the book and it means something to you at that time, but being able to just say, what do I need to know now? And just open up a book, just open it up. And then I always find there's a message for me. You know, I don't know what I need to know right now. What do I need to know right now? You know, to get me through this next phase. And you open it up and there it is. It's right in your face. And now you actually have a tool to work with. You know, you have a perspective. Ah, okay. All right. I see it. Now I feel more equipped to go through this next phase. So I imagine that your book is very much like that. You know, you may have read it from front to cover, but when you go back into it, when you have a situation, you know, it then goes to that other layer, that other level that you need to know, and just shows you a different perspective on how to handle it.
It definitely does. And I've had people say that where they've had very frustrating ongoing things in their life. And then they'll say, okay, I'm going to see what the book says to do.
Yeah. Hmm.
And they'll take it and they'll implement it. It's like, oh my God, it changed everything, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And
Because we just need to
it's,
sometimes see a different perspective. We get caught up in our
yeah.
own and having something else show it to you from a different angle. Ah, okay, that makes sense, right? And that's what we're looking
Right.
for is some sense.
It's like, now I understand what I'm dealing with here.
Right.
And I find too, a lot of people, they like to go back. They like to go back to previous years, or they like to go back to an earlier part of the year and go, okay, this was going on. What were the codes saying about that time?
Mm,
And do it in reflection. And for some people, that's how they make the connections because they think, oh yeah, I saw this play out this way, this way, this way, and this way. It's also a great tool for foresight. If
Yes.
you've got to plan something, if you're thinking about doing something, well, what's the energy currents like at that time? And I should mention, when I talk about the codes are really a blend of over 50 different modalities, none of which are used in the traditional ways.
Hmm.
And they're really a language of the Magi. As Jesse, as you mentioned, Jesse was a Magi, and I'm of the same Magi team as Jesse. And so, really, what I'm doing is I'm using some of the so called traditional tools,
Hmm.
uh, maybe some astrology pieces or numerology pieces, not using them in the same way, but getting them so that they will, I'll take those tools and I'll translate them into my own language in the
Hmm.
Magi understanding. And then I bring it back out again in a way to communicate it in more everyday language,
Right.
so to say. So here again, it becomes very accessible to people. It becomes very um, available for people to work with in an easy way.
Hmm.
And I always encourage people, there is no right or wrong way to use this book. It's about how it's flowing for you. I have several people, they like to put little bookmarkers in so
Mm.
they know where they're at for different things and different influences, or they'll see something going on and then they'll go back and flip through the different pieces. But I want to show people this. And this is what the cover looks like for 2021. Hopefully it's coming through good in there. And I do all the photography work on the cover. These books are not thin little books.
Right.
They're not just a little one sentence book of, have a nice day, keep your mind in a pretty place today. This is work,
Hmm.
and it is going to take you on a real journey, your own personal journey. These books, as I can show people, these are about 675, 700 pages.
An encyclopedia.
An encyclopedia every year.
Yes. Wow.
So
As a prolific
this,
writer.
it's, it takes, a good portion of the year for me to put this out.
Yes.
And I work very intensely on these day in, day out. People will tell you, they're like, you're still working, aren't you?
Yeah.
Look, and I say, you're still you've been working for like 12 hours today. And I'm like, yep, that's pretty common when I'm writing.
Right. Yes. When you
um,
open, just download, right?
when you open and you download and you're tuning in, because I have to stop and I have to get all the pieces together and I have to um, really experience it. And I think one of the things is that I'm really experiencing it while I'm writing,
Mm.
and then I get to experience it again when the time comes around. So I'm kind of experiencing 2 years at once, the one I'm writing and the one that is in existence. And I think what amazes people oftentimes is they're like, I don't get how you can be so precise in what's happening and write this long before it happens. And really, what this is I'm looking at the way the energies of different things are
Hmm.
interacting with each other to bring it into an understanding of how it's going to play out. And there's a whole story in this book that I think people will find very interesting of how the codes came to be. It's a love story. It's a story of compassion. It's a story of heartfelt physical, mental, emotional journeys. Jesse went through a lot of hardships for this book to unfold. And I'm here carrying on the work.
Hmm.
I'm here stepping in and trying to bring it out to get it to people, because one of the things I know is how powerful this work is to change our world.
Right.
And these are critical times. And the more people that are working with this information and this wisdom and implementing that into their lives, the more we can create a world that we can all exist in, that we can all find a harmonious blend with. Because even the pieces we don't like in this world are serving a valuable purpose.
Yes.
And they're serving very important pieces. What happens in the third dimension is their pure energy oftentimes becomes distorted. And so what we see that we don't like is oftentimes the distortions. If we start to learn how to see things in their pure energy, the distortions will begin to fall away. And so, again, it's not that we're void of challenges in this dimension,
Mhm.
but when we start to understand its true
Purpose.
light, its true purpose, its true essence, then we can help redirect that energy so that it can be the valuable piece that it is. And
I
I
mean,
think
it's
that's
it's a
incredible to know.
yeah, and let's face it, this year has been, it doesn't matter what I mean, in the beginning of the year, I had a whole plan for this year, right? And then okay, here I am in March about to launch, and then it was lockdown, and then my podcast became incredibly busy because we're talking about pivoting and how to navigate through this, and the attitude and immune systems and blah 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 that we did massive amount of shows on. So the other project just literally went on the back burner, and I wanted to start it at towards the end of this year, and every time it is like, no, it's a good project. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. It'll be there later. It's not the right time. And this can be frustrating because you want to get on with something. But when you know it's not the right time because the energy is not there to make it go, and it's not force your way through it. That's the human condition. You have to go with the flow of the energy, because then it will take you where you need to go and have you understand what you need to know in order to implement what you're wanting to do. And that is the attunement that we need to have and ride with us. And if the energy is saying no, not right now, it knows there's a better time to do it later. Just be in tune to when that time is coming. And your book in many ways is helping people who really do want to do things. This
Yeah.
is a good energetic time to start something or fulfill something. These aren't good energy times. And it's important for us to know, because we're all wanting to kind of seed something for 2021, but we don't want the seeds to get washed away or dry up. So it's, when is the good time to plant the seeds, and we need that information.
Well, and all of nature knows this.
Yeah.
So all we're doing is getting really in tune with what is true nature.
Hmm.
Um, all of nature has periods that it rests. It knows when to bloom. It knows when to pull back. It knows when to be dormant. It knows how to reserve certain things to sustain it through challenging times. The oceans know when to come further in and when to pull back. It all moves in these natural waves. And, here again, too often we get wrapped up in this world saying, I've got to make this happen. And it's
Yeah.
got to happen today because that's my human schedule.
Right.
Well, recently I heard people saying, I'm just at my breaking point. I'm just at this. I'm just at that. And it's like, look it up in the codes and it's like, yeah, well, sure enough, because you're supposed to be disconnecting right now. You're not
Yes.
supposed to be trying to do this work right
Right.
now.
Yeah. So the
Eh,
energy is not with you. The wind is not with you right
it's
now.
not with you. You're,
There's
you're
no
trying
in
to
the wind in
swim.
the sails. Just
You're,
enjoy the water.
you're trying to swim up the river and against the wind,
Yeah.
and that's really tiring and really
Yeah.
draining. Grab the raft and take the ride down the river and see where it takes you.
Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes when we honor these flows, again, something that might take us 2 to 3 days to do, we might be able to do in one day
Mm.
if we're honoring the flow.
Hmm.
And sometimes we think, I don't have the time for this, but oftentimes we can't afford not to take the time for
Yes.
it.
The
And
priorities.
we put ourselves so much on the back burner that we don't honor ourselves enough. We don't honor what our body needs, and then we expect it to perform for us.
Right.
We don't give it the rest, we don't give it the break, we don't give it the proper nutrition, whatever it is, and then we want it to perform in these amazing ways and keep pushing through when it doesn't have what it needs.
Right. Yep.
And
Boy, did I get that one this week. I had the operation on Wednesday. I was back doing shows on Thursday and Friday, and then like literally do a show and I feel myself sliding off the chair. And why the hell am I so tired? And just sleep, sleep, sleep. And it's like, yep, my body's saying I'm taking this opportunity to rebuild, to renew, to re-everything, and you went and scheduled human, but I'm giving you another journey altogether.
Right?
And I couldn't fight it. I had to go with it.
Well, and I think that sometimes we get set on these directions that we think we should be
Yeah,
going, and we don't realize we might be getting redirected for a reason. We might be
exactly.
getting shifted so that we will see something else. And, I this is where it comes back to kind of where we started in some ways of ride with the flow. Get
Hmm.
in there and just enjoy the journey a little bit.
Yeah,
And don't feel like you have to get wrapped up in all the drama or all of the emotions all of the time. Take some time to sit back and really observe things, because there might be things that you're missing. That may not be the direction you really want to go if you stop and observe things for a little bit, if you stop and tune into yourself.
yeah,
It's kind of like that kid who goes to law school or medical school because they think it's going to make somebody else proud, or because
yeah,
they think they have to have a certain standing in the world. But then the whole time that they're doing it, they just have this emptiness and they're just crying and dying inside, and they start having all these issues along the way. And they really want to be doing, playing music someplace,
right,
or,
exactly.
painting or whatever it is. And they don't honor that until certain things come, and eventually we probably will get back to it. But I love the direction, and I love having some clarity about what's
Mm,
going on,
yeah,
because I think that when we do get these pieces of clarity, these pieces of insight, these pieces that say, well, would this be a possibility? Is it possible that this is going on in the situation? Or just sit back and watch who is in this space and who is in that space.
yeah,
And you'll know where to put your energy. You'll know where to put your efforts for
yeah.
things.
And
And
don't feed the conflict. It's
right.
we're still in a very competitive world, and people are still judging people by other people's successes. And it's like, if that person's energy is taking them to the top of that mountain, that's fine. I'm not the mountaineer. Maybe I'm the valley person, and just as important as the mountaineer. But it's that we constantly compare ourselves, and then we compete, and then we condemn, and then we have conflict with ourselves and everybody else around us. And if we look at all those C's and say, have a little compassion for yourself, right?
Right.
Care about who you are and what your beautiful gift is. What is your instrument? How do you play it? Which orchestra do you join? And what meaningful purpose does it serve humanity? And that, let the other C's go, right? And if you have something that can guide you along the line, like you're putting all this energy out and you're just receiving, closed doors, and you read the book, okay, yeah, I should have read. The energy wasn't with me right now. I didn't pay attention. And a lot of people just don't know how to tune in because they're still getting all that static around them. So we really do. Sometimes that cosmic 2x4 comes along to flatten you, switch everything off around you so that you could start tuning into what really is important and only let the good music in.
And I think too, even when we are very aware and we've gotten ourselves to a point where we are paying attention to things, we are living in a what we might say a very conscious space, and we tend to be in tune with ourselves. It still helps to know these flows.
Yeah.
It still helps because then you can, again, you can. Um, um, I'm not trying to say magnify, but you can um,
And
make the most out
yeah,
of what is available.
right.
Again, making the most out of what is available. And it's great because this isn't going to tell you exactly what to do. Like, it's not going to
Right.
say you need to go buy a size, whatever pair of pants in this color today.
Right.
It's not that kind of telling you what to do. It's that invitation to participate in life. It is that aspect of saying, let's take a look at these areas today.
Hmm.
And let's focus on these areas today. Let's open this up today. And I do. I just think that when we have some of this understanding, when we're working with wisdom, when we are working from this space of seeing what is happening, and this just kind of connects some of the dots along the way,
Mm,
we can open up to being more compassionate with ourselves. We can be more compassionate with other people. We can hold in that soul space. And I'm not saying that you're going to be perfect at that every single day
yeah,
of your life by working with this, but you are going to release a lot of things that can be holding you back.
right.
You are going to be able to maximize the energy currents that are present. You are going to find that you can make the things happen that you want to make happen in life. And you are going to question and make sure that you are on track for where you really want to go, or where the path you're taking is really in alignment with your soul's energy. Or are you
And
working in conflict with that?
right. And, I really don't care how successful you are on, the human level. The amount of people I've interviewed that were the big CEOs, had it all and just walked away from everything, Jenny through some form of cosmic two by four, to go, I was rich, but I was a slave to the riches. And I was so heart and soul spirit poor.
Yeah.
And they're looking for the enrichment and the abundance that can only come from the heart soul spirit connection, that multi-dimensional, to think that we're just flat and linear, and just this mass of body is so disrespectful to who we are as a being, because this vessel is, a beautiful containment of touch, feel, taste, experience that, our souls and our spirits are guiding us to have in a magnified way. If when we truly tune in, that's when we truly understand. It's not just a touch, it's not just a taste, it's not just a feeling. It is just so encompassing that it is everything and very hard to explain. It just is. And when people get there, then they understand, right? But you've got to be willing to take that journey to get there.
And and this book, I think, with the way it takes you on a journey, I mean, that is such a core piece, because
Mm.
you do have to take the journey
Yes.
to have these experiences. You do
Mm.
have to be willing to be open to it. And it's so interesting that you brought up about the CEOs and how they feel
Mm.
empty and things, because one of the pieces in the 2021 codes is that we're going to be dropping the illusions
Mm.
of the rich and famous lifestyles. We're going to stop. We're going to see a lot of that crashing down. They're not going to have the excitement, and I think this is happening for a lot of people. This is probably maybe one of the good things that is coming out of this time. I mean, one, that we're getting the the corruption out in a
Yes.
lot of ways, in these changes and these transitions, but also people have held these elite,
Mm.
fancy, extravagant lifestyles on this pedestal and been programmed that's what you should be striving for,
Exactly.
instead of striving for themselves. And I think in times like this, where people have been through so many hardships and they've lost businesses and they've faced things that they didn't want to face, that the last thing they want is somebody saying, "Oh, poor me, I've got to sit around in my,
Yeah.
$120 million mansion,
Right.
with my servants out there doing the yard work for me."
Yeah.
And these this driving is falling away. And I think this is one of the pieces we're coming back to. What are the real experiences?
Right.
It's not these material things. It's not you know, those are not the things that are going to give us the happiness.
Right. It's
Those
not
are
the
not,
illusions, right?
yeah,
One thing I absolutely love with what's happened in 2020 is like your talk show hosts everywhere have had to Zoom it. So everybody's, instead of perfect makeup and hair from the studio and like 2 or 3 minutes and off they go, they've been filmed in their home, their hair disheveled, relax, and you're seeing them in their own home, and they're not gold plated and made out of diamonds. They're just, humble homes. And the conversations have been so much deeper and so much more honest and so much more real, that they've taken the illusion of the pedestal and brought people down to earth and say, I'm just like you. I'm more fortunate. I'm just more fortunate, but I'm still struggling, right? Emotionally, or I can't work, or this or that. I understand where you're at. And the amount of people that have stepped up, donating money or time or this or that, I think has put people on a more level playing field. And as you said, we're looking at right now the janitors as being as important as the CEOs. We're looking at the truck drivers, the frontline workers, the nurses and the doctors, all the people that people kind of discarded. And they are our heroes right now. They are the people that have put themselves on the front line to serve us. And we're looking at the CEOs and saying, well, all you're doing is sitting there gouging. What are you doing for your people that are struggling right now? So the spotlight is on them to step up into humanity and support their own. And I think it's a wonderful turn of tables right now. I'd love to see this.
Yeah. And we'll continue to see more of that, because
Good.
those that are not working for the true interest, the true
Hmm.
goodness of people, that are not supporting that, are going to continue to crash down.
Yeah.
And so this is where we're going to see a lot of change. We're going to see a lot of change in world leaders and corporations and different things like that. It has to be redone. We were doing the rebuilding and the restructuring last year, and creating the foundations that we needed to move forward. Now we start seeing the changes on that
Mm,
remodel.
yeah.
Now we start shifting everything around. And
The architectural plans are changing.
yes, yes, and we'll actually start to see, where things are headed and where they're moving. But I think it is exactly that. They cannot just sit back there
Yeah.
and be praised anymore for
Yeah.
not doing anything,
Right.
for actually hurting people instead of helping people. They
Yes.
have to put the benefit and the welfare of the people first. And we still have some things to see. There's still going to be uprisings where that's
Yeah.
not happening. There's still going to be
The
speaking
pushback.
up and pushback and things like that. But we can still, again, honor these spaces and honor these abilities to make the choices in our own life. I may not agree with you on certain things, but I can still be kind to you.
What,
I,
who does
you
that
know,
hurt for you to be kind to someone? I may not agree with what you say because I see it from a different perspective. If you're not willing to be open to see it from my perspective, I wish you well and love, and I will go and ride a different wave. You don't have to ride the same wave. You don't have to justify the way you're seeing something. If somebody's completely shut down to it, just wish them love and well, and go to your own positive vibration. Don't feed the negative. You keep feeding the negative, that's what will grow. Feed the
right,
solution, feed the possibilities. And gosh, what opportunities we have in front of us right now. It's just knowing energetically when is the right time to pursue those opportunities, and really put the foot to the pedal, and times when it's time for reflection, or gathering before you can actually do it. And that's what your book is doing, is guiding people through this wonderful creative opportunities, and knowing which storms to weather and which storms to sit out.
exactly. And, that is a huge key behind wisdom,
Hmm.
to know, when do I move? When do I wait? You don't buy into the stock market when the prices are high. You buy in when they're low.
Yes.
It's this, it's using these wisdoms of that thing. You don't cross the street when the car is 10 feet away from you. You wait
Duh.
until it's passed, and then you cross when there's no cars coming.
Hello.
It's and so many people go, gosh, this is such common sense. Well, yeah, it is common sense. It is basic wisdom, but we don't always stop and think about it. We don't always stop and implement it.
Right.
And, for those that want to explore this book, Sarah, one of the things that I do is on Smashwords. Any of the previous years are available for free.
Wonderful.
And so somebody can actually go in, they can download the book through Smashwords, and they can check it out and see if they
Mm,
like the format. Every year I have a little bit of shift or little changes in maybe how I do something, or maybe I add a new piece in or something like that. But they can go in and actually check it out for themselves. They can work with, this last month here, or, they can look at how the format is in there and see if it's something that interests them before they go in and maybe purchase the paperback book.
right.
Um,
But
and
it's
that's
also not only kind of showing your concept and how it works, but reflection. When you look
Mhm.
back on something and you understand why it was meant to be, it gives you a better understanding of what is still to be and more accepting of it and go with the flow. Okay, I understand the shifts and the movements that have been happening in 2020. You know, Media has just given us the noise, but when you actually
Yeah,
understand how the current has changed and how it's changed quite massively, the
yes.
invitation that it has put out there to humanity, it's been quite incredible for the amount that have stood up to face these changes, to be a part of these changes. And reading back on the past years gives you a better understanding of what, yes, we still to come through, but that preparation to navigate what is to come.
Most definitely. And just again, having that piece of information where
Hmm.
I know when certain influences come up, it's like, okay, we're just not going to get work done today because I
Yep.
know when
Yep.
these influences show up,
Yep.
it's not going to happen. That's when I'm going to have four friends that need 3-hour phone calls that day.
Yes.
It's and I understand that. And so again, that surrender piece, which we talked about
Mm.
earlier, and surrendering into it and going, okay, let's not force something to happen. My original thought was I was going to do something, but now that I've read the codes, I think I'm going to do something different today
It,
instead.
it's
Or maybe
timing,
I'm
isn't it? It's everything is
timing.
timing, right?
Yeah,
Nobody's saying you can't do, they're just saying that's not the right time today. Today, your energy is going to be taken in a different direction. And, don't fight the timing. Don't dictate, allow. I'm constantly saying allow. Allow your soul to speak to your heart, to ignite your spirit, to allow your mind to know what it needs to know when it needs to know it, allow it. And if we really want to understand our head knowledge, we have to come from our soul wisdom, because that's how we actually understand the
absolutely.
data in our head. If we're just in our heads, all we have is a whole load of information that we don't know how to use wisely.
This is so very true. It's very, very true. And I find too that so many times this gives me a heads up for what I might be dealing with in the day. So
Mm.
if I'm going in and I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, people are naturally irritated right now, or
Hmm.
they're naturally not paying attention, um, then I need to leave extra time coming and going from someplace. Or I know just the fact that I know people are going to be more irritated, I know I need to exert a little more kindness. So
Yes.
I can adjust the space that I'm in order to handle what is happening. It's not about stopping somebody else from being a certain way. It's about shifting how I'm going to handle the day.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
and I think that a lot of people too, they mention, you're giving me some hope, you're giving me some
Mm.
inspiration, you're you're helping me approach a situation that before would have knocked me on my rear end,
Hmm.
and now I can stand up and I can face that situation because I understand what's behind the scenes. I understand when this person does something this day, it's coming maybe from a space of greed. When they do it this day,
Yeah.
it's coming from a space because they're actually in hardship.
Right.
um, and understanding these subtle differences, these basic things, um, just shifts the whole experience that we're having.
Mm.
It just gives things the possibility to be something that we maybe didn't think they could be.
Right. Yes. I mean, I think a good dose of compassion right now is, kind of extra dose, leave the salt alone, just add some compassion, for ourselves, for the situation, for the reaction of other people. And if we don't react back with people, but instead show compassion, I know we can't physically hug right now, but we can vibrationally hug. And, it's people think, oh, I can't feel that. Yes, you can. We can feel
Yeah.
anything vibrationally. It's just that we have got to make sure there's no walls up and just allow. I have seen far too many times people's prayers or wishes or just hugs or caringness come out, be the healing modality. And we mustn't underestimate. We don't underestimate prayer. So when you're wishing good
Exactly.
vibrations on someone, loving vibrations on someone, that is a prayer. It's compassion. And the more we do that for each other, the more we will get through this.
And realizing too that the book too reminds us that compassion isn't just about giving people everything they want.
Right.
It's not just about um, the rosy, fluffy, being kind
Yeah.
piece. It sometimes involves standing really strong. It sometimes involves saying no to somebody and realizing that they may not understand how that's compassionate in the moment, but they will later on. Um, and that self compassion, sometimes we have to say no.
Yeah.
It's not about being walked on. It's not about being taken
Mm.
advantage of. It's not about letting people do whatever they want to do to you. And here again, this is where the book helps you with those flows. It helps you know when you should be standing up and when you need to step back into observation and when you need to just maybe take the day off
Yes.
and, and not deal with anybody that day.
Right.
And it's just so powerful to be in that flow. It is
Mm.
so amazing once you're developing this relationship with yourself and realizing that, it's great to want to help people. But if you haven't taken care of
Mm-hmm.
yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
you're not going to be able to help other people. This is not just the proverbial, put the air mask on
Right.
yourself
Exactly.
first type of thing.
Yeah.
But it's like you need to give yourself the love and care first. And if you're not giving it to yourself, how can you expect somebody else to give it to you? You
Precisely.
have to be willing to set the parameters. You have to be willing to accept that some people won't accept those parameters. So you have to be willing to say, you know what? I welcome you openly in my life. But if you're going to be in my life, this is the way I'm willing to be treated. And this is the way that I'm not willing to be treated. And you can have your differences of opinion as long as you don't get nasty and mean or
Yes.
things like this.
Yes.
And these are the doors that we open. And when we're willing to be strong, when we're willing to stand and say, you know what, I will be there and I will have your back on things, but I can't do it at the expense of myself where I'm going to be knocked out for a week as a result of it.
Right.
Or
Yeah.
you learn that flow. And I love this one example. I was out at our farmers market over the summertime, and there was this lady that was there. She was older and she was lost. She didn't know how she got to our town. She was trying to get to her home and she had been visiting her family and all of these things. And nobody was really willing to help her. And I thought, this is so strange. And it was
Right.
one of those days that I knew that there was no point in having plans because whatever
Right.
it was going to
Yes.
get
Yeah.
interrupted. So the
Exactly.
codes already had warned me, upheaval,
Mm-hmm.
change of plans, you got to be ready to move on a moment. And, sure enough, I said, you know what? I will take the time. You can follow me. This way we don't have to ride in the same vehicle. If you need a mask on your face, you can have that, whatever the case is. Follow me. I will get you home safely. She lived 3.5 hours away from where I am, 3 hours away from where I am. I drove her all the way home, got her all the way home safely, and then came all the way back, which was not easy for my body given what
Right.
it's been through.
Yeah.
It did take me a couple of days to recover from doing that. But the gift of being able to do this for her, the gift of caring that she got home safely was the priority in things. And I think this is one of the things we have to get back to,
Yes.
especially with what we've been through in 2020. We have to stop hating people for all of these different things, and we have to get back to caring about one another. Um,
Community, being there
community,
for each other. Yeah.
we have to be willing to say, you know what? The plans I had on my day are not as important as this person getting home safely, having peace of mind, and getting out of this fear that they're in.
But it's also the fact that you took that time, you got them home safely. The energy that she will be in there will then exude out and be shared with other people. That's the whole point. You know, the love and compassion you gave to her will be received and now be exuded out. And that's the way it works, isn't it? If you're going to hate someone
Yeah,
on hate, that hate's going to go. If you show that love and caring and compassion, that is what's going to exude out. So if we don't want all this negativity back, don't feed it. Feed the compassion, you know, put yourself out a little bit.
yeah,
And yeah, 7 hours and hard on your body. Because one thing people don't understand is that people like yourself, who is a dimensional traveler and working with many entities and going into so many modalities, it takes its toll on the physical body. Never mind anything else that's happened to you. And but you're still compelled to do it because that's what you were chosen for. And despite whether it hurt you or not, you knew it was something you had to do. There was no question about it.
that's exactly it. And I think as we move more into this space and we let go more and more of the hate and we move more and more about caring about true needs. I mean, obviously this was not a person who just took advantage of
Right.
people, you know, along the way. You know, she was a widow. Her husband used to know all the
Mm,
directions. You know, this was a huge thing for her. And she let me know what a difference it made in her life. She
mm,
just couldn't believe that somebody would do that for her,
right.
that somebody cared that much about another human being in the
Right.
world.
Yeah.
And,
And she'll never
you know,
forget it.
she'll never forget it.
No.
And I can guarantee you, especially in a world like we are in now,
Mm,
those acts of kindness are not going to be forgotten,
no.
nor are the acts of major attacks or hatred. They're not going to be forgotten in
No.
these times because either extreme, and I see it in myself, and I myself have said, you know what? I always liked such and such a business, but I don't want to do business now
Hmm.
because of how they became. And these situations that try us, that test us, that challenge us, that's where we're going to find our real colors. That's
Yes.
where we're going to see how somebody truly is. If their true nature is about caring, none of these hard circumstances is going to stop them from caring. If their true energy is about hating, then these circumstances are just going to shed light on it,
Right. Exactly.
you know?
Most certainly. And you know, you said we've got a 5 year cycle, that's including
Hmm.
2020. But that doesn't mean 5 years of, you know, complete upheaval and difficulty. But it does mean, you know, we know that humans are slow to learn.
Yeah,
It takes them a long time to change. And, you know, the shake up, have you woken up? You know, and the stepping up and changing up right now, these changes, because this is there is no normal to go back to. It was
right.
destructive. We are having to go back in tuned with nature, with planet, with each other, with our cosmos, with all our multi-dimensions. We have to open up. And I think the 5 year span that we're going to see is um, the illuminant of human nature, you know, of becoming more entrenched with their soul and their spirit, becoming more at one with the multi dimensions. And you know, not everybody, obviously, but I think we're going to see quite a majority of people stepping into that, and where we really will actually understand the human journey, this cosmic journey that we're having in a human body, and you know what we're here to do. Because quite honestly, if we don't, the way we were going would have distracted this world completely, gone kaput. So this is the change we have to do for planet, for humanity, for life on this planet, but also for the equilibrium in the universe. So changes, don't fight it. It's futile. You've got to change along with it, but you're not alone because you've written this book, and clearly there'll be another one after that, because this is what they've asked you to do, and you can be guided along the way. When you feel, oh my God, that the static out there, and the disruption out there. How do I find clarity in here? Well, reading a part of the book, a few passages of the book, will even just give you that that breath, and
Yeah.
come back into understanding whatever's happening out there doesn't have to happen to you, and pay attention to what you need to do, whether it's rest and regroup or whether it's be productive and step out. But that attunement is so necessary, isn't it?
Well, definitely. And, we forget as humans, if we don't handle something, it's going to come back harder and harder
Yeah,
until we do handle it.
yeah,
And that's part of why we're in the state that we're in now, is because we didn't handle it earlier, partially because we didn't see what was happening, partially because we just were complacent. And if you look at it, even though human life is challenging, we've had it pretty cushy for a long time.
yes,
And it was our lack of involvement that has gotten things to hit a crisis point
yeah,
in our world. And so, definitely, this is an opportunity. We have to remember we created the
yeah,
circumstances we're in, and we
hmm,
can create a different set of circumstances
yes,
to live in now. So that's where we're at now, is we're recreating the way we're going to live on this planet now. And no, not all 5 years. Yes, they're going to have certain amounts of turbulence that will be going on, but the more we deal with things, the more we handle things, the more pleasant those turbulences can be,
yes,
the less stressful that they will become for us. But we are in times that we just simply cannot be complacent about
nope,
things.
nope,
It's not going to work with the times that we're in. And yes, every year I put out a new
yeah,
one of these books. And, for that year, with the guidance of what we're dealing with. And these are the things that as we move through this, and I really think overall that 2020 and 2021 are probably the hardest
hmm,
of this 5-year cycle, because then we'll start to see things balance out. We'll start to see some progression. We'll start to be really coming much more into divine alignment. Um,
if we do what we need to do in 2021, right?
well, we have to. Well, one
Yeah,
way or another, we're going to get there. The question is whether humans will be a part of that or not,
right, exactly.
because Earth actually has a very eternal energy. As much as
Mm,
we don't think of it that way, we think we're using it all up. Well, Earth has a very eternal energy. It's going to balance itself. We are going to have to deal with some natural disasters. There are going to be a lot of souls leaving this Earth
mm,
probably in 2021. That is the reality. But here again, the time we share with somebody, whether they are leave us tonight or whether they leave us, 20 years from now, it's what are we doing with the time we have?
yeah,
And are we choosing wisely? And it's coming back to, I think, why these 2 years in particular are so critical in this turning point, is because this is where we're making all the big choices.
hmm,
This is where the changes, this is where the transformation pieces are. The rest of it's kind of like cleaning up the rubble after the hurricane
yeah,
hits type of thing. It's the rebuilding, it's these other pieces that become more enjoyable along the way. But right now, we have to make the wise choices. And so that's part of what makes it feel heavier. I think a lot of people are realizing that things that they've been told maybe aren't the truth. So we're getting to a lot of truth right now
hmm,
in things. We're having to face the truth in a lot of things. And, again, you can be on board with that or you can not be on board with that. That's your choice. And we each have different aspects of the truth within the collective truth of what's
mm,
happening as well. because some people are meant to go through this process, some are not.
Right.
Some of the lives that are going to be lost in 2021 came here to go through what they're going to go through specifically to wake us up.
Yes.
And they know this as souls. They don't have any regrets about it. They don't, have any disappointment. Sometimes we think, why do these lives have to be lost? Well, they came here knowing that that was going to be their thing
A soul
should our
contract.
world get to where it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's a soul
Yeah.
contract. Just as you know, I had to get Jessie out of this body. Our
Mm.
Magi team had to get her out for a safety reason. And her connection with Orly, which anybody who once they read the story, they'll
Mm.
understand who these people are and what these characters are about. And their love is impacting way beyond this world. Their
Yeah.
love was critical to us being able to make wise choices in this world. And so it is very, very important. When I look at this work, it's like, again, being kind can't hurt us.
No.
So when you're working with this book and following these things, there's certainly nothing in here that's going to hurt you by working with it by any
Right.
means. If anything, it's going to help you. But we realize these soul contracts are there. And, we all kind of knew there could be certain points where a walk-in might be needed for
Mm-hmm.
Jesse. And it had to be somebody that could step in and in many ways seamlessly continue the work.
Mm-hmm.
So other than those that were in her inner circle, they wouldn't necessarily notice
Right.
the transition so much. And I worked hand in hand. I shared body with her for 2 months. So we actually, I got to get a lot of perspective from her. But those that knew her, those that knew me,
Mm-hmm.
say, yeah, you might be in the same body, but you are really different people.
Right.
You're really different energy forms. And I think one of the things that's blown a lot of people away, they say, you just don't put up with stuff like Jesse did. You,
Exactly.
you know,
Exactly.
you you come in, you're here for business. You had to step into some rough circumstances, rough things, a body in rough condition. And but I feel like I've done a lot in the just over 2 years that I've been here. And I think that these are the things, Jesse's living in this body was what was needed for the time she was here.
Right.
My being in this body is what's needed for this body now,
Right.
because I'm here to take this work to the next level. I'm here to get this work out there. I'm here to allow this wisdom to be accessible to people where it hasn't been accessible in this way before.
Right.
I'm here to open the thought. I'm here to open the heart, and I'm here to follow this through at
Mm-hmm.
this point.
And,
So
and not everybody, who is going to go on this divine spiritual journey and emerging with their spirit persona are going to say goodbye to the human self. But
exactly.
clearly, because of where Jesse was at, but also the work that you needed to do, Jesse wasn't strong enough for it on his. So that is, that I always find it, I've always found it very difficult with my human and spiritual self. And I step more into my spiritual self, but my human self still has a place. It still
Hmm.
has the delivery. But if it ever came to a point where one took over the other, then so be it. It will be what it is. But you've obviously gone far further afield than what most people do, and so Anne is here to honor us as a human race, to help us guide us through what we need to do, and so it's very sacrificial in many ways.
It really is. And I think that it's about being of service. And this is where the soul comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the Magi team that I've been on, we have been involved in so many things that are similar. We are often around at what can be the extinction of a civilization or a world. And, you know, we were around when things went down with Lemuria and Atlantis and
Mm-hmm.
other civilizations. We understand the different starseed groupings in many ways and understand what their importance and their presence is, and these interconnectedness. And this is uh, it's unusual for magi to be incarnated to start with. Let's
Yeah.
put it that way. We don't incarnate very often. It's a rare thing. It was not something we suggested Jessie do. Um, she made her own choices to come here, and she took some very, very big risks along the way in coming into this incarnation. Um, and so, Orly popped in and out many points in her life, checking on things. But I think in 2021, a lot of the Magi wisdom, it's time for it to come out.
Yeah.
It is
Yeah.
time to be accessible. And I think that it's a huge piece. It's not about telling people always what they want to hear. I sometimes will do personal year reports for people, and they think, oh, well, this doesn't tell me that I'm going to have a great year. And I'm
Yeah.
like, good. It shouldn't tell you that you're going to have a great year.
Right.
You have your year current, which may not be so good, and then you have individual months that may be good or may
Yeah.
not, may be challenging. It's about giving you that foresight. It's not about telling you what you want to hear.
Right.
It's
Preparing you for what's going to be.
this has been a frustration that the magi have had, with so many of some of the modalities out there.
Mm-hmm.
They like to print something in a newspaper column for your astrology and say, oh, look at this wonderful day you're going to have. Oh, it's going to be rosy. And then people are like, oh, it didn't turn out that way. Well, we're here to give you the truth of what's going down.
Yes.
we're not
Yes.
here to tell you what you want to hear, what you like to hear. You know, there's always going to be good days, there's always going to be challenging days, and just hang on, because if you don't like the way it is one day, it's going to be different in a few days or a week or a month or things
Right.
like that. it, no matter how bad things get, there are going to be some beautiful high point days. No matter how beautiful things are, there are going to be some challenging days. This is just nature.
Yes.
It's just
Exactly.
nature. It's simple as that. And I think that one of the things I hear a lot when people work with this book is I've maybe known this piece or known that piece, but now it makes perfect sense to
Mm.
me.
Yeah.
Now I really get the concept. Now I really understand it. Um, and I think that is just so useful for people, getting some of those dots connected,
Mm-hmm.
getting those pieces to kind of come together. But more important than that is getting people to think for themselves,
Yes.
getting people to make their own decisions, not decisions based on what everybody else tells them they should be doing, but getting their own mind thinking about what is best for them. And when you do that, that's not about not caring about other people. You are caring about other people. But again, you've got to honor what is best for you and not just what the rest of the world thinks you should be doing.
Right. That's lesson number one. And that's what the journey is all about, isn't it? We've lived our lives as, through expectation and dictation. And, what we're saying is that none of that has worked. This is a reset. This is an attunement of going in, living from the inside out, or living along with the divine energy, and not just reinventing yourself, but rediscovering yourself as
Yeah.
to who you really are meant to be, what you're really here to do, what is your contribution, because it's always about what our contribution is. We're here to serve one another, and it's stepping into that. And then that's when you actually really understand why I'm here, who I am, what it is I contribute. And that is a good feeling to have. And so, there is no downloadable app, there is no snap of the fingers, abracadabra. It is about the process and the journey. And the more you immerse in the journey and the process, you're going to reach those various stages you need to reach so much quicker. And again, your book is one to help people navigate that. When is a good time, when isn't a good time, and the support that you need. As I said, it's like having a buddy with you, right? A buddy say, read today. See, it says no. Oh, hey, no, today, get up, get into action. The energy is with you. And it's having that support. And that's what we're needing right now, because a lot of people are confused. They know they've been woken up. They're not quite sure what to do with it, or how to in tune with it, listen to it. And they need that help that's going to guide them on that journey into being, into becoming. And more people that become, the more they rise up, the more they step into that beautiful energy, the more we're going to see the planet at peace, the universe in harmony, and the more we're going to actually see what the real fruits and benefits of being a human on this planet.
I absolutely agree. And when you focus on yourself, it's again, it's not about selfish in a
Right?
way of not caring about other people. Actually, it's about caring about yourself and other people.
Yeah.
And when you focus on your own self, on your own piece of things, your own way of living, you will change the world. Whether you see it or don't see it, you will have impacted and changed the world. And in working with this book, again, it's that relationship between the human and the soul self. And just imagine, our human self doesn't like to go along with what it doesn't understand.
Yeah.
It doesn't like to go along with what it doesn't know. So in this process, you're helping it to know what it is contributing to, what it's being involved with. You're helping it to get to know your soul self in a way that it can understand it. And when this happens, and then it starts to realize, to go, wow, I really get to be a part of holding the soul. I really am in this amazing piece of things. And we all are that amazing piece. It doesn't matter where we're at or what we're doing. We are this amazing piece. We just have to come to recognize it. And it's just about being aware of that.
Yeah.
And, here again, the soul self, it can have all these great things. And sometimes, it can sit there and go, man, this third dimensional stuff is really taking a long time to do something,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But
Hmm.
it's kind of like, your car is only going to go so fast. And
Yes,
but if you want that car to keep working for you and to keep getting you places, you've got to maintain it, you've got to
exactly.
take care of it.
Hmm.
And that's what this relationship with the human self is. But once your human self again starts to see, oh, I'm a part of this, oh, okay, we're headed in this direction, okay, and it even intuitively knows through its own senses what the truth is, because you can feel that in your gut.
Yeah.
You can feel if that's part of the flow or not. And so when you read the truth in a book, for example, like this book, everything kind of goes, yes, I'm on board, because it understands that it's truth.
Right. Yeah. Can
And
relate.
it can relate. So it all kind of comes on board. And this is, the being able to drop those resistances. Wow. It's
Yeah.
just wow. I hear that from people. It's like, a year ago or 2 years ago, I would have been all about this. I would have been up in somebody's face arguing with them and fighting with them. And
Hmm.
now it's like, I just sit back and watch, because I don't have to fight with them, because I know what's going on.
Hmm. Yeah. Yes.
There's no need for me to fight. It's like I don't want to be in that space. And
Right.
I realize that it's just my own rebel energy coming up, or it's my own
Yeah.
fighter energy coming up. And it's like, nope, not going to go down that path. That doesn't serve me
Or anyone else.
or anyone
Yeah.
else.
Well, as I said, a fabulous gift by people for Christmas, because it
Yes.
prepares them for 2021. And as you said, they can go in and read the other books for free, from Smashwords. And that way they can, kind of look at, they'll understand this year certainly a lot better, and why we're still in process of, that 5-year plan that's going to be there. And it'll help us understand why we're still unraveling, and the direction that we're still meant to go in 2021. So, a good read to have on the other as well. But I think it's a good gift to give people who are in the awakening, but not quite sure how to navigate right now. And, as I said, give them a buddy, the book, and
Yeah.
something that can guide them through it, and where you're not alone, and that you feel that you really do have some support there in kind of making heads or tails of what the hell's going on. Because sometimes it just really is the twilight zone, And it's not really to be understood
Mm-hmm.
in the now or be understood in the hindsight, but just get through it. And the book is there to help you do that. So, how do people get hold of the book and how do people get hold of you?
Yep. Oh, well, they can go onto my website, compassioncodes.com, and then go to the goods tab, select the code journey, and that has all the links that will get you directly to the pages, depending on whether you want Kindle or the paperback or go through Smashwords. It's got the links also for the older versions on there as well. And this is actually the first year, Sarah, that this book is available on a wholesale level, which means if you have your favorite bookstore that you want to support,
Mm,
or even a big bookstore like Barnes and Nobles, you can go in and request it and they can stock it in the shelves because they will be able to get their wholesale price on it. And so I'm really excited about that because I know a lot of people have their favorite little
mm-hmm.
metaphysical stores or bookstores or things, and every store that's gotten this book has said, oh yeah, I've had stores that said, oh, I only thought I might sell like 3 or 4 books because I'm such a tiny little store,
Mm,
and they sold like 15 books.
right.
So don't hesitate to go in and do it. They can get it
Yeah.
through Ingram Book Company, which is one of the 2 largest distributors, and almost every bookstore, gift store that carries books deals with them.
Right.
Um, and then they can contact me either through the contact form on the website, or my email is Jang, that's my initials, JANG, at compassioncodes.com. And the website is, again, compassioncodes.com. I am on social media. I probably will stay on Facebook. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to be transitioning into some other platforms and not being on Facebook as much. Um, but for the most part, people, they can contact me through there. They can send me a message that way as well if they want to try to get hold of me. I usually respond pretty quickly to people unless for some reason I have, not gotten online for a day
Mm.
or two,
In the middle
or
of
I'm
writing. Yes.
traveling, or
Yeah.
I'm in, some days in the middle of writing or something. I might put something off for a couple of days, but most of the time I'm pretty good about getting back to people right away. So
And you're also on LinkedIn.
I'm on LinkedIn as well, on Twitter as well. I don't use Twitter
Hmm.
so much for business. That's not the best
Right.
probably place to find me, but LinkedIn, Facebook, both of those channels are pretty good.
And will you be changing your name? Because you're still writing under the old name.
Um, I'm using Jesse on Nichols George. So for the legal name right now, I'm not planning on making a legal change. I won't say absolutely not, but I'm not sure. I haven't really found a code energy that I want to be in.
Right.
If I did do that, it is a lot of work. I
Yes.
I think until things in our world settle down a lot, it's not something for me to think about. Eventually, I may shift on the books in upcoming years. I
Mm.
may shift and just put on
Yeah.
instead of my full name on there. Um, but right now, I'm going to hold it. It actually has some pretty favorable energy in
Hmm.
there
Hmm.
overall, other than a little bit of rebel energy and some of the undercurrent patterns. So, um, but other than that, it's a pretty solid energy for me. And so,
Good. You go with it then. Don't change
yeah,
it. Right.
right.
Thank you so much for sharing here today, for writing the book, 700 pages. And we do need guidance right now. We're in
Yeah.
uncharted territory. We've never known anything like this before. And, unfortunately, human beings like to do things by manual. What's next? What's next? How do I do this? And really, we are explorers, we're adventurous. And if we could just walk in faith, in trust, and in exploration, in wonderment, each step that lies before us, in tunement with our universe and with our planet, will never be guided wrong. And you're giving them that security to guide them while they're trying to get their footing. So thank you so much for writing the book.
Well, thank you so much for having me on, for one. And I'm going to show the cover one more time so that people can see it in there. And I think my favorite thing is this is so much like a resource book. It's like
Mm,
an almanac, a life almanac in a way. And to me, those are some of the most powerful books we can work for, because they don't tell us exactly how to do something. We're not doing
Mm.
something by somebody else's formula or program. We're creating our own way of doing it within the general concepts. And I just feel like absolutely pick one up for yourself, pick one up for somebody else as a gift. They will love getting this as a gift.
Yes.
And this is exactly that. It's just that, it's that resource. It
Yeah.
gives you the flexibility to do things your own way. It's not about following everybody else's
Right. It's
formula.
it's when the wind is with you, and when it's not, it's that support. It's the timing thing of yes, no, and that's what we need, that support.
Yeah,
We turn to our friends, should I do this right now? And they don't know, they're not equipped to it. Well, the book is equipped to doing that. The time is good
absolutely.
for you, the time isn't good for you. And that's, a lot of the time, that you have great ideas, your wonderful blueprints, but it doesn't mean you have to activate them straight away. You have to wait for the right time. And in the meantime, you're building your structure. So it's just
Yes,
allow yourself to go with the flow, right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, folks, a beautiful gift again for Christmas for the 2021, a gift that will keep on giving, and plus the other books that you can get to for free. We all need help right now. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are. There's a lot of static out there. We need to bring that energy into a more kinder, cohesive flow. And, the more that we do it, the more we're going to see the difference. So here is a book that's going to help you on your way. So thank you, Anne, for being with us here today.
Thank you so much.
And to everyone else, I wish you a Merry Christmas. And remember, 2021 is going to be a challenging year, but a great year according to how you are going to be working with it. So until next time, folks, bye for now. We hope you enjoyed the show. We look forward to bringing you more shows. Please go to selfdiscoverymedia.com/shows and you will see the incredible lineup of genres and shows that we have for you. We are here to make a difference in your life. Thank you for listening.